Hello, welcome to the Citrus Garden. If you're new here, my name is Christina. This is a reading for Virgo suns, or if you just have significant Virgo placements and are needing a masculine energy to work with or balance within yourself, then this reading is for you. So Virgo, let's get started with your reading. I'm just going to start off by saying that there are two significant energies within your reading today. So there's more of the masculine energy, which I'm going to read as your energy, the one who's watching this, but there is also a significant feminine energy within your reading today. So I'm just using the terms masculine and feminine to distinguish between the one who is watching this reading is the one who's taking action. That's how I'm going to read it. But you may also be resonating with the other energy as the one who's sort of receiving is kind of how I'm going to put it. So put yourself into the role of whichever resonates for you. Apply it to your life however you see fit. I'm just going to, just for my sake, in terms of clarity, I'm going to read it as you, Virgo, the one who's watching this, is the one who is taking action towards somebody or something else. So let's get started with the bottom of the deck energy. So this is okay. So this one's your energy is how I'm feeling it. That you have the Magician, Knight of Cups, which is talking about sort of taking action, right? Using all of your skills, your gifts, all of that, your creational abilities, manifestational abilities to move towards a significant connection, which is coming through as with the Six of Cups, Three of Cups, and the Chariot, which is all of this gorgeous cup love energy. There is a lot of this sort of emotional love or fondness perhaps, or affection for this other one, and trying to move forward on that. But then you have this Seven of Swords, which is in the middle, right? It's it's a kink in the energy that's sort of disrupting any sort of forward movement that is wanting to happen with you, Virgo. It's there's this part is needing to be removed. And what I feel the Seven of Pentacles is, or sorry, not Seven of Pentacles, Seven of Swords. I sort of see this as a self-sabotaging energy, which is kind of believing something about yourself that is not true, or believing, if it's not about yourself, just believing something that's not true, right? And so because of that, there's a lack of clarity. It causes sort of, it's almost like a self-deception kind of energy, and it causes the Two of Swords, which is a blocking. So I feel it might not be an energy within yourself. It may be an energy within the connection, if it's between you and a significant other, where and again, it doesn't have to be a romantic partner. It could just be a family member or something like that, where they're somebody that you care about. With the Six of Cups and the Three of Cups coming out, it's feeling very much like a friend, right? Friend groups, family members that you really care about, because the Six of Cups I see is sort of non-romantic soulmates, so friends and family that you're wanting to sort of reunite with or celebrate with, but there's something within the connection, the Seven of Swords, that's causing I want to say separation, right? There's something there about you're not coming together, or you're not meeting on the same page because of whatever this energy is, and that's what's wanting to be cleared up. And then you have here the Sustainer, the Kairos card, which I find so interesting, and the Desert. And so what this is talking about, the Sustainer is a very earthy energy, right? Having to maintain something. But with the Desert, it talks about a lack of resources. And with the Kairos here, this talks about cycles of time. So you do have the Wheel of Fortune that came out in your current reading, so I will come back to this Kairos card. There's something about maintaining perhaps a specific course of action that's been affecting this connection in some way, is kind of how I'm seeing it, where it's it could have to do with pentacles or resources, because the other cards that are coming out here you have the Queen of Pentacles, the Knight of Pentacles, and the Justice card. So this Justice is talking about sort of a karmic rebalancing. And with these two cards coming out, I feel like this is not your energy, actually, Virgo. This feels like the other person's energy, because they are coming out with the Queen in the reading. So I feel like what this is talking about is that this other person, the person that you care about, a significant relationship in your life, they're going through some sort of karmic justice rebalancing, where they're making this transition from the Knight of Pentacles, which is perhaps like a slow moving kind of like perhaps restricted financial state, into something that's more sort of abundant with the Queen of Pentacles. So they could be going through this sort of transition, and that sort of put them in an energy of this desert where it's like there's a lack of resources, whatever that means. They're having to make sort of this long journey. And I feel like for you, Virgo, you've been sort of maintaining this energy of the sustainer, of like holding or like maintaining perhaps the relationship, or something about the relationship that is like you've been holding steady while this one has been going through sort of a journey, is kind of how this is feeling. So you may be resonating with the other one, just keep other role, just keep that in mind. But here, this is more so emphasized with like the turtle, who I'm seeing as the other person, the one who's having to go through some sort of journey, having to carry all their resources with them, that kind of energy. And you here are the dolphin and the spider. And what's interesting about the spider is that it is coming through with this sort of Kairos Wheel of Fortune energy, where I feel like there's going to be there's some sort of significant like point in the timeline that is going to be shifting soon, which I feel like is going to be very beneficial for you and this connection. And I'm seeing this as sort of like, I feel like, Virgo, you may already be sort of sensing that with the spider, is kind of like one of the energetic webs has been sort of tugged on or activated, and you're sensing that very subtle energetic shift or change that's going to allow this connection, like whatever this Seven of Swords energy is, to be cleared. So that's the overall energy, the context of this reading. So we're going to start off with the current energy, and the first three cards to come out are these really interesting cards: the Unseen, the One card, and the Vow, which is so interesting. So this Vow card is like the connection between the two of you. I feel like it is very long-standing, or there's been sort of like, could be sort of like an unspoken connection that you and this other one are like in it for the long haul, right? It's like there's a commitment between the two of you, and it could just be like your friendship, or like if you're family members, right? Like you are committed to maintaining the health of this relationship, is basically how this is coming through. And then you have the Unseen and the One, which I find so interesting when these cards come out, because trying to put words on this experience is very difficult. It's almost impossible. It's just talking about like a very sort of, there's a lot of things that are outside of your control that are happening. And I want to say it's surrounding this relationship, especially when things like the cards like Kairos come out. It talks about very sort of like universal forces, especially with justice as well. Those are sort of universal forces that are very much outside of our control. It's kind of like the universe doing things behind the scenes to benefit this dynamic or benefit you in some way. This relationship, there's unseen things. And with this One card, it's talking about unity consciousness. So there's something about this dynamic here that's being affected by perhaps universal forces, such as like the movement of the planets, or like some sort of aspect of divine timing as well with the Kairos card, that's outside of your control, and just sort of surrendering to the process and it's kind of like just holding on to one another as this energy moves through. And then the two cards to come out to describe the two of you is the Mountain and the Queen. So I'm seeing you as being the Mountain. It's a very hermit energy. For me, if you just look at, like, I was just like drawn in, like, I feel like Virgo, you've almost like taken a step back is how is how I'm reading your energy today. And it's like this queen is a very significant person in your life, is how it's feeling. But it's kind of like you had to take a step back, or you have taken a step back, because it seems like this one is going through some sort of difficult experience, is how I'm going to put it. I feel like they are very much like tuned into you. Oh, that's interesting. Now I'm seeing that card differently. Okay, so anyway, so these are two energies. I'll come back to this. But it feels like for you, Virgo, you have like this very sort of like keen sense of awareness that you should take a step back, or that your energy perhaps is needing to be sort of removed from the situation of whatever it is that they're going through. You're also coming through with this cosmic egg. So this was really looking to me like a staircase today. I feel like you sort of, it's very much like a retreat energy, right? Like knowing when you should take a step back from a certain situation in order to benefit whatever it is. And that's also being sort of accompanied by these three tarot cards. So you have the Four of Swords, which is talking about like a rest, a retreat energy. But it's also, because it's coming through the Judgment card, because I always see this as being sort of a silent judgment card. It's not this angel figure hasn't yet blown the horn, but in the context of these energies, it's talking about, I feel like, perhaps sensing that the other one is needing rest or something like that. And so almost like putting your phone on silent, or putting yourself or putting your energy on silent is kind of how I'm seeing this. So not to disturb this one, right? It's like they're going through some sort of significant shift or whatever it is, and it's like you're having to like retreat or go off into the mountain, right? Like to almost like isolate yourself in order for this one to get the rest that they need or whatever it is. And then you being the King of Pentacles, right? So it's like they're coming through with the Queen of Pentacles. So you are like a match. There's a match and a resonance between the two of you. But with this King of Pentacles, I always say that they're at a distance, right? They've removed themselves on some level, even if you are sort of sharing space, like they're physically in your environment. It's like your energy has become removed from the situation in order to give this one like peace or quiet or whatever it is. But I feel like what's coming up here, what this reading is talking about, especially with the one card as being sort of like unity consciousness, is that I feel like there's an energy that's trying to bring you back together. With these two cards, you have here like the Ten of Cups and the Eight of Wands. So I was seeing the Ten of Cups is sort of like the ideal emotional fulfillment, like with another, right? So I feel like that's the energy that is pulling the two of you together. It's like this is the unity, oneness, consciousness moment. And with the Eight of Wands, I'm seeing this as like you coming down from the mountain, actually, right? Like going towards this one, going towards this moment, perhaps very subtly as well. It feels very subtle. Like even though the Eight of Wands is sort of like fast movement forward, it's coming through with this energy of like the bat and the firefly, which is all of this sort of like silent, moving by night, very subtle, energetic movement. It's like slowly sort of working up the energy to descend from the mountain, whatever that means, right? Like to rejoin this one, which is so interesting. And it's coming out with the King of Cups, right? That's you, like being sort of coming down off of this thing and sort of joining the other one in the water, right? Like it's like coming down from the mountain to go into the water, whatever that means metaphorically. So it's like you're getting ready to make some sort of action or movement, again, with all of this sort of like the Knight of Cups, Magician, right? Perhaps just like planning or strategizing how to move towards this one, or how to like engage them in conversation, because I feel like their attention is not focused on you. And I think that's what this reading is about. It's like, on some level, because they're coming in with the peacock energy, where it's like, I feel, because this one talks to me about having like your radio tuned, right? Like having your radio tuned to the right frequency. I feel like whatever it is that they've been going through, because with this, they have like multiple antennas, meaning I feel like they've had their focus split on many different things or many different stations. So it all sort of comes through as white noise. Their station, their radio, their intuition perhaps has been split by many different focuses. So they haven't been able to sort of tune into a specific frequency, like your frequency. They haven't been able to tune into you specifically, because they've been sort of dealing with whatever this situation is, and we'll get to what that is. But it's like, for your energy, you're coming through with the Strength and the Two of Wands, which to me is talking about like planning, right? But I want to say planning in a way that's almost like using your strength, because I feel like it's something that perhaps you're not comfortable with, or something that's like different or new, because this King of Cups comes in with like this the anxiety energy. So it's like you've taken a step back, perhaps doing like sort of like hermiting, so like doing a lot of inner work or introspection and all that. And I feel like that part of this energy here is wanting to talk about whatever this Seven of Swords energy is, right? It's like, that's the thing that needs to be sort of removed or dealt with before this unity, whatever it is, this Ten of Cups moment can happen, because it's almost like that's what's sort of interfering with it. And it may actually be because you're sort of connected already, right? That this doesn't feel like, well, it may be a new person. But because it's coming through with like the vow, the Six of Cups, I feel like it's somebody that you already know. You already have an established relationship with them. Because you're like the king and queen, I feel like there's some aspect of like, it's already established. You already have some sort of relationship, whether they're like friends or something like that. But there's perhaps something here where you're wanting to shift the dynamic, is kind of how it's feeling. And what's interesting about this is that after the Two of Wands, you have here the Tower and the Wheel of Fortune, which is interesting because this Wheel of Fortune is just talking about like time today. I feel like there's really a significant element of time within your reading. So either like, I was getting very sort of like almost like astrological events, because right now we're in a Mercury retrograde and a Mars retrograde. This Tower energy is feeling like the Mars retrograde, where perhaps you had to take a step back, because that's also with the Mountain as well, right? Like perhaps you were really affected by sort of the Mars retrograde, where you had to take a step back to sort of like reevaluate some aspect of your life or the energies in your environment that weren't working and that needed a shift. And that could be what this Tower moment is. Again, I feel like this is past, or it's like you're already in the midst of it, because it's like something that, especially with this King of Pentacles specifically from this deck, it's been talking about sort of like being in like a precarious situation. So perhaps you had to shift whatever this energy was, where there was something in your physical environment that just wasn't working for you anymore. And so having to go through whatever this sort of whatever this like sort of like stepping back or stepping down energy was. And I want to say that this other person, whoever the queen is, also had to go through something similar, right? So it could be because it was talking about justice. The very beginning, the Justice card, and then the Knight of Pentacles and the Queen of Pentacles. So they may actually also had to step down. Is kind of how this is feeling. There was, because I said it was a transition between the Knight and the Queen, but it could be that they were transitioning from being in this Queen state, some sort of aspect of their like their status or their resources or something like that, their abundance, that they had to shift or almost like take a step down is kind of how this is feeling. Because their energy is coming through like this with the Two of Swords, the Ten of Pentacles, and the Nine of Pentacles, which is why I'm saying that they also had to go through some sort of like stepping down, or just like, how else can I describe that? Downsizing, perhaps, because they're perhaps having to leave some aspect of their Ten of Pentacles, which to me just represents sort of like their manifested reality or their community, perhaps. They had to take a step down into a Nine of Pentacles, which is still abundant, but there's an element of more like having to be more independent or financially independent, perhaps, from this energy, whatever that is. So it could be that they left a job or something like that. Some aspect of their status or their title was needed to go through a transition, right? It needed to be rebalanced because that energy was not beneficial for them. And whatever that moment was where they had to sort of take a step down, I feel like they're currently in this Two of Swords energy, which is kind of like a blocking energy. Like they've perhaps shut themselves off from any sort of new opportunities, or perhaps like relationship, if it is like a friend or something like that. They've perhaps energetically cut themselves off from any sort of like distractions or relationship, perhaps, because they've been going through this transition. And I want to say that perhaps it's like having to restart some aspect of their financial abundance or something like that, or just their physical environment. Like perhaps they're moving house or something like that. There's just a lot of things going on. I feel like you'll know what it is, because it's like you've in sort of witnessing what it is that they've gone through, you've taken a step back, right? Like you recognize that whatever situation that they're going through, they weren't available or able to connect with you in sort of like a Knight of Cups energy, right? But I feel like there is something changing within that, with the Wheel of Fortune coming out, where there's going to be a moment, like a divine timing aspect where the two of you can come back together. But I feel like what's just wanting to be highlighted right now with this Two of Swords is that they may not be, this queen individual may not be receptive to it, just because they're in this energy right now. You have the Page of Pentacles and the Four of Cups. So these are both sort of like, the Four of Cups especially is kind of like a melancholy kind of energy, or just like, if it's not melancholy, it feels just like perhaps disappointed with their circumstances is how I'm going to put it, right? Because the Page of Pentacles is talking about, like, it could be because they were starting off with the Queen, right? So Queen, the Knight of Pentacles, and perhaps even like going down further into the Page of Pentacles, which is talking about like having to really regrow or restart or build up again. Because with the Cosmic Egg as well, as I said, it was looking to me like a staircase. It's almost like they went all the way back down to the bottom of the staircase and are needing to reclimb it, restart it, regrow, whatever it is that they had to like step away from, perhaps. And with the Four of Cups, that always talks about, like, because they're focused on their physical environment. They're not seeing the Ace of Cups that is being offered. So it's kind of like for you, just letting you know, I think this reading is about that if or when you try and make this offer or like come towards them, or just like with the King of Cups energy of like trying to perhaps just like reconnect with them, there may be this energy of like the Two of Swords of they're not seeing it, or they're not, because they have like so many other things on their mind, or they're just focused, they're tuned into this transition of some sort of like pentacle thing that may not be working out, or if it's not that it's not working out, it's just that they've perhaps lost a lot of their confidence is kind of how it's feeling. They perhaps lost some of their confidence. They're feeling like this Page of Pentacles when they once were a Queen of Pentacles is kind of how this is feeling. So there's a dynamic of almost like feeling like they've been reduced down to like a lower, it's like somebody who used to be very sort of powerful within a company, for example, but then are now just sort of like working a minimum wage job, for example. That's like one example of how this can come through. For them, it may be something different, and it's like because they're going through this energy, they're not seeing this King of Cups energy that you are in, because of that's like, this is the only thing that they can focus on, is kind of how this is feeling. So that might be sort of a Seven of Swords kind of like self-deceptive energy that may be present within the connection, is that they first of all are seeing themselves, or they're not seeing their own abundance, right? They're in an energy of lack. And for you, it might be something like perhaps that they're not seeing you, or they're somehow misunderstanding your approach is kind of how it's feeling. Misunderstanding your approach, or what it is that you're trying to connect with them, right? They're misunderstanding it because your purpose, it feels, or like your intention feels like you are moving towards them, but because they're coming through the Peacock as having a lot of different channels or focuses or frequencies that they're tuning into, it's your intention, your pure frequency intention is being lost within this sort of white noise, is kind of how this is feeling. Okay, so I'm going to leave it there for you, Virgo. I'm going to move to the extended. The link for that's in the description box below. We're going to talk about what's something else that you need to know about the situation. If you're interested in that, it's in the description box. You can also find info for personal readings if you want one of those. I do have other videos you can check out if you're interested. Thank you so much for sharing your energy with me, and I hope you have a great day. Bye.